I want to stick specifically to preseason week 2 and 3 rookie quarterbacks' performances and give the final preseason rankings on how I have them going into the 2023 NFL season. I do this every year. That's really the only reason I keep up with preseason is to look at these quarterback prospects. So CJ Stroud. Here we go. Against the Dolphins, I loved the way he came out of the gates here. Much more exposure to the playbook, the rollouts, the mobility was shown. And he really started flashing why he was that second overall pick, showing us some of that mobility again, the footwork, how he can get out on the bootlegs. And I did notice he is quick to break his mechanics and footwork when he's got some pressure in his face, but I guess that's some quarterbacks, right? You can't be totally perfect when you have pressure in your face. I want to see him deal with that a little better, though, because I know he's capable. That's what made him my favorite quarterback in the draft. That's what got him drafted second overall. And really just his stature and his presence in the pocket is very solid, very calm. That tall stature for him. I think he's about 6'3". That's why I like him better than Bryce. He sees the pocket well. He sees the field well. He adjusts well. And he just delivers a very, very smooth football. New Orleans Saints, his performance. I love the beautiful shot to Nico Collins. I love that D'Amico Ryans was letting him air it out. But it was really just a better play by Alante Taylor out as landed. And then you got to like the touchdown to his favorite target. Like Nico Collins got that smooth 7-step drop in delivery. So I've got no complaints really for how he played against the Dolphins and the Saints, considering it was week 2 and week 3 of the preseason. I'd say my biggest takeaway or takeaways from CJ Stroud's, 3 preseason games is he is flashing why he's the number 2 overall pick. The stature looks great. The arm looks good. He did have some overthrows. He did have some sails, but we saw that from a good bit of the rookies in the preseason. And like we do every year, your time to mess up and to have those overthrows and sails is in the preseason because we don't want to see that from you in the regular season, especially a guy like me, man. You're my favorite quarterback in the draft, CJ, and I think you're going to do great, great stuff with the Houston Texans. Biggest takeaway from him, though, is he handles the pocket well. He still moves well. His mobility is good. Obviously, I like the accuracy. I do think it could be tightened up, but again, he is a rookie, and CJ Stroud is looking fantastic so far, and I'm very excited for him, as we will talk about later, how CJ Stroud is named QB1 for the Texans. Now, the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young will go second, respectively, in this segment. Bryce Young against not the San Francisco Giants, Lord have mercy. Bryce Young against the New York Giants. We saw in the first game of the season against the Jets, I think he had literally 4 snaps, a lot of one step, just sliding back in the pocket, delivering. Not a whole lot to work with from Bryce Young, but it was his first preseason game. So the first snap, they're rolling him out against the Giants. Absolutely love it. And for him to be so small, this is one thing he was praised about, despite his small size, despite how he isn't the biggest behind the offensive line. He sure does see the defense well, and he hangs in the pocket very strongly. We've seen him take shots in this preseason where he's delivering the ball and getting licked, getting smacked just right at the very end of the play. He hangs in there for those types of things. He's able to make those types of plays. So when you see Bryce Young handling these types of plays, having the smaller stature, and knowing that that was a knock from some people with him coming into the draft is very impressive. You like to see him deal with the pocket well because you don't want it to be another Kyler Murray type of thing, or maybe with a little bit of the injury, not bug, but some of the injuries that, we've seen Russell Wilson put up with just from being in that smaller stature. We saw Drew Brees in the last couple of seasons in the NFL. But yes, so then you look at the performance against the Lions, and he was showing us that he's that Alabama Heisman season winner, pocket presence, again, the way he's moving around, not being too worrisome about his actual small figure, playing against the Lions, playing against the Giants. And you see him sidestepping in the backfield and really even slipping underneath in the pocket. Quite a few overthrows, but he really can clean that up. Playing against the Lions in that preseason game, such smooth mechanics, very smooth follow through in the couple of those games that he had. And even though he did have the easy release, the touchdown pass to Adam Thielen that highlighted a little bit of everything from Bryce Young's game, there was still some room for improvement. I don't think a whole lot of room for improvement as it was compared to CJ Stroud, because Bryce did feel more accurate. Bryce did feel about as calm, or maybe just a tad bit more calm. Of course, maybe we're giving him some bias being that number 1 overall pick. But again, against the Jets, not a whole lot. Against the Giants, we definitely saw some more. And then against the Lions, again, showing us that real Alabama Heisman winning season pocket presence, being able to slip underneath those defenders, maneuver around in the pocket. You like to see that. That's what Bryce Young was praised for. He showed us that he's got some arm strength. He showed us that he can move around. And I like the bootlegs. I like the mobility that Frank Reich really gave him the confidence to do, because we know that what Bryce Young is capable of. So big takeaways, similar to CJ Stroud. I like the pocket presence. I like how he can be slippery. I like how his timing and his hesitation is better than CJ Stroud's in that aspect. And overall, I'm just going to want him to stay healthy and really make sure that the size he carries in the NFL is going to be one that definitely can benefit him. On to Anthony Richardson, as he only played against the Eagles and did not play in his preseason finale, or the Colts preseason finale, rather. Got to love the deep shot to Alec Pierce, even though it was incomplete. And I like how he's selling the play action better. You looked at some of the earlier play action plays that he had with the Indianapolis Colts, and he was just kind of putting the ball there and then jerking it back real quick. He wasn't actually letting the fake go through Evan Hull at the running back, or, I believe Deion Jackson might be that next running back there. But we knew he had the running aspect to his game. That's the biggest thing. And that was most definitely on display. Dealing with the pocket fairly well. He's a little jittery back there, so his footwork does need some work. I like the nice throw on 2nd and 4 over the middle to number 84. I believe that was the tight end. And as a rookie, I do feel like he is looking for those big plays instead of taking what the defense is giving him at times. But we have seen rookies do that as well. That's just something that they have to learn. That's something that kind of has to be coached out of them, to say the least. But again, I like what Anthony Richardson is showing us. I want him to take what the defense has given him more at times, and the inaccuracy is showing. And both Buffalo and Phil picked up on the fact that they picked up on the fact on how he perceived blitz. Definitely rattles him. We saw him throw the pick against Buffalo where he didn't even complete the play action, started with the footwork, and then threw off balance for the nasty interception. We saw him pressure them a couple times with Buffalo and throw off balance, and the same thing with Philadelphia as well. And then we unfortunately have to go on into Stetson Bennett. And I am so incredibly disappointed with the way Stetson Bennett played. After really looking like the best after week 1, really because of large sample size, Stetson Bennett did all but melt in his last 2 preseason games. And I hate to go over it, but we got to keep it honest, hold him accountable, and we want to see him do better as that back-to-back national championship winner out of the Georgia Bulldogs program. So against the Las Vegas Raiders, the pick six was very, very, very ugly, of course. Now, the option play was nice on the touchdown scramble. I do give him credit for that. And the pass over the middle to Davis Allen, that really felt like vintage Stetson Bennett, just hanging in the pocket, delivering a strike to the middle of the field with a little bit of tight coverage. Not a whole lot that we necessarily saw out of Stetson Bennett in that Raiders game. And I will say it was hard for me to find all of his snaps, to find all of his plays. I don't have a plug or a source yet to get all of these, bird's eye shots of every NFL play. I really don't, but I had to go through the highlights and through what Stetson Bennett actually wanted, or not through what Stetson Bennett actually wanted, through what the NFL and the Rams and other teams actually put out there for the Stetson Bennett highlights. And against the Broncos, it was a 41-0 loss. It was an absolutely horrible performance. 2 third-down interceptions while staring down his defenders. Just 4 of 9 passing for 14 passing yards and 2 picks. Again, both of those being on third down before being pulled. And the fans are absolutely flipping out, right? They're saying he wasn't worth the pick. Of course, he had 2 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He had at least 4 interceptions dropped in the preseason. And I hate to see this for Stetson Bennett, because I was talking about it as I went through the week 1 of preseason rookie quarterbacks. Is Sean McVay let Stetson Bennett sling it. He let Stetson Bennett let it fly versus Anthony Richardson, who was obviously more raw than Stetson. And some people believe that Richardson was possibly better than Stetson. With the newer coach, let him fly loose too. Frank White with Bryce Young, very minimal. D'Amico Ryans with CJ Stroud, very minimal. But week 1, Stetson Bennett in the preseason was absolutely airing it out. 29 attempts. We saw the yardage. We saw the touchdowns. And again, he had 4 total dropped interceptions in the preseason. And now you have people talking about Clayton Tune. Now you have people talking about Aiden O'Connell. I'm not exactly sure where, Jake Haener was taken for the New Orleans Saints. But when you see the fans now looking at these 2 preseason games, and Sean McVay maybe made a mistake letting him loose in week 1, because he absolutely melted in these last 2 games. And again, this is what preseason is for. This is why these guys play. I still believe he'll be able to be on the roster as that backup to Matthew Stafford, but it was very, very concerning staring at his players, all the drop picks, not necessarily going through his motions or mechanics the best. And I guess this is why he was a later pick, right? He did win back-to-back chips at Georgia. He did step up big in the games that he needed to. He did step up big in week 1. But when you look at the last 2 preseason games, it makes you nervous. It makes you very, very nervous. And I can totally understand why fans aren't happy about this. So let's give my final quarterback preseason rankings as we go into week 1, which is just 9 days away from the 2023 NFL season. At number 4, Stetson Bennett. Clearly, the way he played over the last 2 weeks put him in this bottom spot. He did have the best week 1 performance, or at least the biggest sample size out of all these people that we saw, but he did fall to the bottom. Heck, I would have even liked to see Will Levis play some more, but again, gets the Mayo deal. Maybe he feels like he doesn't have to play in the preseason. That's okay. At number 3, give me Anthony Richardson. I liked what I saw from Anthony Richardson in 2 preseason games. I liked the big throw that was dropped, unfortunately, by Alec Pierce. You love the deep shot again to Alec Pierce in the Eagles game. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch play. We know he's got the arm. He can play great. Of course, he can play bad. The accuracy needs to be worked on. We know the true rushing ability that he has, and he really runs like a Josh Allen or a Cam Newton. That's going to be very special to watch. I'm excited to watch Shane Steichen now go from a Justin Herbert to a Jalen Hurts and really be able to have that toolage and mesh with Anthony Richardson. Stetson Bennett, number 4. Anthony Richardson, number 3. At number 2, I'm going to give you Bryce Young. And Bryce Young, obviously, that puts CJ Stroud at number 1. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud played very comparably. I like the size better from CJ. Both of the arms can feel comparable. The accuracy can feel comparable. The pocket presence is pretty comparable. But when CJ Stroud's got weight and height on you, yeah, he might not be in the better coach. Yeah, he might not be in the better culture, the better offense, the better system. And I even say the offenses are comparable too. But CJ Stroud taking this number 1 spot is the reason he was my favorite quarterback coming into the draft. Again, I love the size. I love the way he can be mobile. I love the way he can manipulate the pocket, take the deep shots. And the same thing for Bryce Young as well. They are virtually almost the same player in my eyes. One's just smaller in Bryce Young and a little more mobile in Bryce Young. But CJ Stroud can break out the moves as well. So the number 1 rookie quarterback going into the 2023 NFL season for me is CJ Stroud. Number 2, Bryce Young. Number 3, Anthony Richardson. Number 4, Stetson Bennett the 4th.